Okay, The Destruction of Wonder Woman, presented by myself, Stephen Flores, Rose Flores, and Rebecca Heath. Inspiration of a feminist icon. Born at the end of the Golden Age, psychologist Dr. William Marston's Wonder Woman was inspired by women's rights and the suffragist movement, specifically Margaret Sanger, a powerful feminist activist. Her costume, a patriotic color scheme. Her weapons, a lasso that subjects those bound to her will and compels them to tell the truth, and bracelets that repel bullets, and an invisible plane. This is a quote by Marston. But if she lets any man weld chains on these bracelets, she loses her power. This is what happens to all women when they submit to a man's domination. A symbol for the feminist movement, chains were a purposefully conceived weakness for Wonder Woman. And the picture on the left is from the suffragist movement, and the picture on the right is Wonder Woman breaking those chains. This is from Jill Lepore's book, A Secret History of Wonder Woman. And these are all different examples from other comics of the women empowerment. Alright, the other agenda, 50 Shades of Marston. Marston believed strongly that women enjoyed bondage and submission and wanted to use Wonder Woman to teach young girls to enjoy it also. Kind of disturbing. This is one truly great contribution of my Wonder Woman strip to moral education of the young. The only hope for peace is to teach people to enjoy being bound, enjoy submission to kind authority, wise authority, by Marston. Marston gave extremely detailed instructions to his artist H.G. Peter on how to draw the bondage panels.
"1942, a big year for Wonder Woman." 1942 was the first year she debuted in her own comic. This is the cover here of her very first comic in Sensation Comics. 1942 was also the year that her costume changed. Her shorts began like this, and shortly thereafter they kind of tightened into more of a bicycle short pattern, and that caused her comic to be banned by the National Organization for Decent Literature for being insufficiently clothed. 1942 was also the year that Wonder Woman joined the Justice Society, though as a secretary, after a poll was run asking, should Wonder Woman be allowed, even though a woman, to join the Justice Society? Of the 1,597 for, and there were 203 against. 197 of the against were male. This short comic down here at the bottom shows her induction into the Justice Society, although, as you can see here, as our secretary. The beginning of the end. In 1949, the first Wonder Woman cover was drawn by somebody other than H.G. Peter. This marked the beginning of a new era for Wonder Woman. The comic cover that we just saw was that cover, in which she was depicted as more girlish, even with different shoes, being carried across a stream by Steve. Frederick Wortham, psychologist and author of Seduction of the Innocent, called Wonder Woman, quote, "a crime comic we have found to be one of the most harmful, plainly lesbian. For girls, she is a morbid ideal, definitely anti-masculine. Enter the Comics Magazine Association of America and the Comics Code Authority." Wonder Woman dismantled. Pre-CCA Wonder Woman, pre-Comics Code Authority Wonder Woman. Her backstory was that she was formed from clay and brought to life by the goddess Aphrodite, trained as an Amazon warrior on Paradise Island, the all-female island where men were not allowed. Her motivation at the beginning was that she was a powerful feminist warrior woman who fought for equality and justice and women's rights all over. This is an example of a pre-CCA Comics cover depicting a Wonder Woman who is empowered and running for president. Post-CCA, her backstory was changed completely from being made of clay to being born as a human to her human mother and an unknown father, who, along with all the men from that kingdom, had died in some war. The widows were struck with grief and decided to sail far away to Paradise Island, where war was disallowed, but strangely, men were not. Her new motivation was a girlish, simple character whose main objective was to marry. Different characters at different times, but here's a cover where she's marrying a monster. Note the Comics Code Authority seal up here at the top, and here are a few more covers depicting the change. Here we have her tossing what looks like a big, huge piece of machinery up into the air, protecting Steve, once again, her Steve. Again, pre-CCA on this side, and I thought it was interesting to note the coding of the villains here. Another post-CCA cover in which she's the best shield he ever had. And our third and final pre-CCA cover in which she appears to be swinging a boar at a person, a man who's on the ground before her. Oh no. Apologies for that last slide, technical difficulties. I clicked too fast through the final cover that I was going to show, but it was simply Wonder Woman kneeling in front of Steve, whose face was covered, and her mom was in the background. She could be seen saying something about the shock of seeing his face will surely kill you. Another example of Comics Code Authority kind of changing her outcome.
Welcome to the Bronze Age. This is the late 60s, early 70s. It's the controversial take on the Amazon princess. Here we see Denny O'Neil and Mike Sekowsky's perspective as when they started scripting in 1969 together. And here we see their take on what they were trying to get across with the new Wonder Woman. I thought I was on the side of feminism. I'm hoping to encourage female readers to strive for independence. Sekowsky, DC, and O'Neil stripped the character of her powers, her lasso and bracelets, and her red, white, and blue costume, and made her a strong, intelligent, working woman who also happened to be a super spy of the highest caliber. You have to admit it's not a bad idea. These are all quotes from Denny O'Neil. And frankly, she's not a bad example for anyone, male or female. She's a smart, self-reliant, loyal, and fearless girl. She knows how to dress. I apologize, guys. The last two quotes were from Comic Alliance, the source that we got for these last two slides. Here we see the responses that Denny O'Neil and Mike Sekowsky received. First from Gloria, a principal icon and activist of the women's liberation movement, published an article in Ms. Magazine arguing that it was in fact an anti-feminist interpretation. She argues that O'Neil and Sekowsky failed the moment they removed her powers. As Wonder Woman, she was stronger than men, better than men, from a society untouched by the wars of men. By removing her advantages and her Amazonian traits, they dulled the impact of the character, reducing her from goddess to an average gal living in a man's world. We also see in this new Wonder Woman that she was actually trained by a man to become the super spy that she's portrayed within these issues. But in the past, when she had her superpowers, she was already above men and she was actually trained by women.
This is a video on the transitions of Wonder Woman throughout her 75 years.
It's fine.
That's pretty quick.
Shorts getting tighter, shorter.
Comic Code Authority!
Look at those rosy cheeks.
Pretty consistent here.
Body type still
Pretty normal.
Stop to lose your powers.
Oh, here it comes. Identity crisis. Right here. Yep. Just like our nation searching for identity after Vietnam, so was she.
And she's back to patriotism.
Yeah.
Blonde Wonder Woman. Eagle. Is that a rabbit?
Yeah, so. Yay, Wonder Woman.
Oh, the 90s, look at that hair.
Woo!
Outfits.
Whoa.
Got
That's some-
significantly less.
Yes, her kneecaps disappeared somewhere in the 70s.
They start reminding me a little more of the movie those last two ones.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Whoa.
These outfits just went off the rails for a minute. Whoa.
Wonder Woman.
His eyes are gone in a lot of these.
Disclaimer, that was just a really interesting video that we found that we wanted to share. And these are the sources that we got all of our information from. And thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed. Bye.